Hello and welcome to the live stream. Today we're talking about the Stream Deck Plus. Once again, I talked about it last week, but I didn't actually have one in my hands, so we've got one to actually play with today. I've already been through and dug into it. Obviously, it just arrived a couple of days ago, but I thought what we'd do is just go through and do a complete fresh install. Sorry about being a little bit late. I was chatting in the Discord, by the way. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And so let's get straight on into it, shall we? And I'll talk about my initial impressions of it. It is obviously the same high quality build quality as all the other Stream Decks. In terms of the size, here's how it looks next to the Stream Deck XL. I mentioned about this last week, but the buttons, I do wish that they had stuck with the original size buttons. So you can see that you've got these four large buttons here that are essentially just regular Stream Deck buttons. So you'll see as we go through, we can program those. So those just work exactly as you've been used to. We've got the touch strip here. This displays some information on it, but it's also touch sensitive, so you can swipe between pages and things like that. The other thing that we've got is these little dials, and they do feel very nice to twiddle, so there's really sort of high quality there, and then they are also push buttons. But I still can't help thinking that these 8 buttons here, if you actually look at the size of the buttons on the Stream Deck XL, in the same sort of width as you've got those 4 buttons, you probably could have fit another maybe 2 columns, so you could have had 6 by 2 instead of 4 by 2. I think that would have been a great move, really, because then you would have had the 10 buttons at the top, 12 buttons at the top, and then 13, 14, 15, 16. So it would have made it effectively a sort of 16 button, because all of these have got a push button as well that you can operate from there as well. So it basically would have been effectively like one more button than the regular Stream Deck plus 4 dials, whereas as it is, it's got these sort of 8 buttons, and I just feel like it could have had a few more, really. Because would I recommend this to someone? I'm jumping straight ahead to the recommendations, aren't I? Would I recommend this to someone over a regular Stream Deck? Probably not, to be honest. I'd probably still recommend the Stream Deck XL over this one, unless you're going to be using the audio features that this now opens up, or if you really need those dials. I've got some thoughts about those dials as well, though. So let's dig into it, shall we? And I'll just say a couple of hellos. The comments seem to be a bit slow coming through. There we go. Oh, there we go. They've just popped up. Hey, Rob, great to see you in here. And I've just seen your picture, by the way, in the Ecamm group with all the gear that you've bought for another studio build. I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with. I always look forward to seeing what you're building. Hey, Andy, great to see you as well. So let's dig into the software as well, because there's been a couple of changes to the software to obviously allow us to control the dials. So this is Stream Deck software version 6. By the way, if you are on any other Stream Deck as well, there's a couple of things that they've changed in here, namely the positions of some of the Stream Deck actions. So if you remember before, they had basically system, where you've got things like websites, hotkeys, and all that kind of stuff. But then there was another one that was called just Stream Deck, and that had a whole load of things. Well, they've actually split that out into 3 different menus now. So you've got Stream Deck, which includes timer, brightness, and sleep. So basically controlling things on the actual Stream Deck itself, the sort of appearance of it, I guess. Then you've also got the navigation section now. So that includes things like create folder, profile switch, next and previous page, go to a specific page in your profile, and then also the page indicator. So that's sort of split out now into its own sort of little navigation section. And by the way, when you install the new update, these 2 new sections, the navigation and this next one that I'm going to talk about, multi-action. So here they've split out multi-action switch, and random action. I always like that idea, a random action. You just press a button on your Stream Deck and who knows what it's going to do out of a list of things you've given it. I'm sure there's a good use case for that. But yeah, so these 2 here, navigation and multi-action, when you update your Stream Deck, these 2 are going to be right down at the bottom of the list. So just be aware of that when you update that. If you go into the Stream Deck section here looking for these ones, you might wonder where they've gone. Have they vanished? Well, no, they haven't. They're now in these 2 new sections. So that's just something to be aware of whichever kind of Stream Deck you're on. They've also changed some of the icons of these a little bit. I'm not sure whether it's for the better or worse. So like next or previous page, they've got these slightly different icons to them now. So it looks like that. By the way, I'm adding next and previous page onto here. One of the great things about the Stream Deck Plus, though, is that you don't actually need these buttons for pages. You can just do it with a swipe. So if I swipe back and forth, you can see how it's flicking back and forth on those pages. So I'm just literally swiping on that touch screen. I do like that. That basically saves an extra couple of buttons there that you otherwise would need. So that's about it in terms of the actual changes to the regular part of the software. But of course, now we also have this dials section over here. And this opens up basically the WaveLink. I'll come to the WaveLink one in a moment. But when you first install this, it's going to have Stream Deck. And so we've got dial stack and brightness. I'll talk through all these, obviously. System. And then we've got the control center. And by the way, I'm on a Mac, obviously. So this is all going to be Mac-centric. But there may be other functions that open up if you're on a PC. I'm not quite sure if there's any extra functionality. I think there is more to do with controlling system audio potentially on a PC, but don't quote me on that. But then we've also got this one, WaveLink, and this is going to be one of the main things I'm going to be talking about today, because actually plugging the Stream Deck into your computer opens up the WaveLink software. And this is the software that is used for controlling audio on your computer and audio from your mic. Previously, this was only available if you were using an Elgato Wave microphone or the Elgato Wave XLR. So that's the sort of box that sits on your desk that you can plug an XLR mic in, take it in over USB. And so that would be the only two ways that you could actually use the WaveLink software. Well, now with this, as long as you've got this plugged in, then the WaveLink software is unlocked. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So yeah, let me just come to this comment here because Andy's saying hopefully Ecamm brings functions to the volume. I'm sure they're working on it. I'm pretty positive that they're working on it, because obviously we've already got control over volume and things like that on Loop Deck. With the Loop Deck plugin. So yeah, this is just a matter of time before that is added in there. So in terms of the actual functionality of programming this, it's essentially exactly the same as we're used to. Simplicity, drag and drop. So you can just drag things from here over onto the other side. So if I come over to this one, we've got adjust brightness. This is brightness of the device itself. So if I turn this one up and down, it is going to be adjusting the brightness of the actual device. Let me just take that out there. Then also we've got adjust temperature. I beg your pardon. That is the. I beg your pardon. This one is the one for the Elgato, the device itself. So this is changing the brightness up and down on the screen. There you can see it's sort of dimming the screen and turning it up. So that's brightness on the device. This one is for your computer. Now, apart from that, though, we've got dial stack. I'll come to that in a moment. But apart from that, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of sort of functionality for these dials just yet. Obviously, people are going to be building out their own plugins. So, when you go and look in any plugin that you've already downloaded, then if there is something associated with that that would have a sort of a dial function, then that will be in here. But at the moment, there isn't a huge amount in there. However, there is this hotkey. And this is the one where we can really do a whole load of things. So basically, you've got rotate counterclockwise, rotate clockwise, and then press to tap. So if you've got a piece of software that, where you have, I don't know, zoom, it might be command plus or something like that, zoom in, command minus is zoom out. Then that would just be a case of going and assigning that in here. So command plus for clockwise. Oops, we do it this way. And command minus. So now, as I rotate that dial, what that's going to do is basically zoom in and out on, using that hotkey. You've also got a push to press a tap. So this is basically anything you assign here. Let me just assume that might be, I don't know, command P or something like that. So that is just the same as assigning a hotkey on a regular Stream Deck button. But there it's going to be if you actually press the button in. And then also it works if you actually tap on the screen. So there's two different ways that you can activate that press to tap, either the actual touch screen or it's going to be for pressing by pressing the dial in. Now, the reason why they've got those two different ways to do that is because there is, in fact, this other thing here called dial stack. And what that allows you to do, if I just drag that onto one of here, that basically has a similar sort of format to, if you're familiar with the way that we program multi-actions or something like that in the Stream Deck, then it looks the same as that. So when you've got a dial stack activated here, you can see here the contents, 0 actions. Well, what I can do in there is I can just drag in a whole load of other actions and hotkeys in there. And so if I was to do drag this one in, for example, and then let me say adjust brightness. Let me come into WaveLink. I'll do this one a little bit later. It will make a lot more sense. But you can see here how we've got 3 different actions now associated with that particular dial. And then the way that that works is as I press the button, it's basically going to cycle through those different actions. So you can see that as I'm pressing the button, it's cycling through them. So what that means is, although you've only got 4 dials, you might want to have, let's come back to Andy and talking about the volumes in Ecamm. Let's say you've got a volume slider for each individual guest, which we have in Ecamm. Well, then you could say that, one of these is for guest audio, and you could just sort of press the button to sort of flick between the different guests, guest 1, 2, 3, and 4, and just dial them all in. And then it's only taking up one button on the actual device. So I really like this idea of a dial stack. It means that you do have a whole load of functionality, because usually you're not really twiddling all the different dials as you're going along at any given time. It's more a case of, sort of fine-tuning things and then leaving them is often the case. Or like, in Photoshop, one of the ways that I use Loop Deck, and I'll talk about Loop Deck more again later as well, but one of the ways I use my Loop Deck is in Photoshop, where I have it for, adjusting brush sizes and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I use the dials in there. So I like the stacks. I think that works really well. And it's, arguably a better implementation than Loop Deck as well. Whereas Loop Deck, you've got sort of pages of dials. This seems a more intuitive way of doing it to me, because you've basically got, a particular dial for some particular context, and then you're just sort of clicking one dial to cycle through them, but you still have all of the other dials, as you've set those. Whereas with the pages on the Loop Deck, you're basically, you've got sort of 3 keys down this side. If you swipe up, then it's, you've got a whole... You're changing everything rather than just the one dial. Maybe I'm not articulating that very well, but hopefully you get the point. So just a quick couple of hellos. Hello, Chris. Great to see you here. What have you missed? Nothing much. The Stream Deck Plus is finally here. So yeah, the Ecamm group are obviously going to come up with some great ways. Oh, glad to see you've just received yours as well. Fantastic. So you're having a bit of a geek out as well. It is indeed, Keely, finally here. It was supposed to, I said last week it was going to be here on Monday. It didn't end up arriving until Thursday. So there you go. Just got held up further in customs. But that is one of the small prices you pay for living in a tropical paradise. So anyway, let me just carry on for a second. And one of the things about these dials and the hotkeys, I was almost ready to use this as my doorstop. However, there is one thing that I do with this that I still can't do on the Stream Deck Plus, and I'll be putting in a feature request for this, obviously. But so what I do with the Loop Deck is I've got a button that activates the zoom feature on my screen. So by zoom I mean the accessibility zoom that allows you to zoom in on the screen, and then this dial here basically simulates a command and the scroll wheel on the mouse. So if I was to just go into my live demo mode, which I can do from here as well, just for a second. Is this going to work? Of course it's not going to work. I'm doing a demo. Of course it's not going to work. Let me try that. Oh, there we go. It's going on the wrong screen. What I'll have to do is I'll have to just move my Ecamm window over a second. There we go. I'll put this over here. Right, now if I go into my live demo mode, Command D. Now it's sharing another window. There we go. Right. So if I activate this... No, it's not working. Of course it's not working. Of course it's not working while I'm doing a demo. Never mind, forget that. But what I have it set up to do when it decides to play ball with me is that I have the dial actually simulate the command and the scroll in the mouse, because that's how you actually activate the scroll on the screen when, let me just try this one more time, because otherwise this might not be making any sense at all. Give this another go. Okay, so there you can see. There you can see that I'm zoomed in on, I'm sharing my whole screen, but if I activate this mode, I can basically zoom in on any area. And that is basically just using the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out, whilst holding down the control key. So what I have that set up on my loop deck is that I have this button here. Is basically, if I press it, it activates the zoom, and then the scroll, turning this dial left and right, basically does that zooming in and out. So that's what I was hoping to be able to replicate with the Stream Deck Plus. However, what you can't do on there at the moment is, you'll notice that we've got rotate counterclockwise. It is still only keystrokes, which is, what we've only had up until now in any case, so there's nothing strange about that. But one of the things that is quite good about Loop Deck is you've also got mouse gestures, and I would love to see mouse gestures in here, because then that would mean that you would be able to use the dials for things that do involve mouse gestures. Often you might want to do something where you want to pan to the left, pan to the right, and you do it with a mouse. Often there's something where you hold down a key, a shift key, for example, and then scroll, up and down and left and right to pan around. I know certainly in some of the 3D software that I use for design, those have those kind of functions based, where you use the mouse for that. So lots of applications where I could see mouse gestures being really useful on these dials. And so for me, it would just be a case, just a simple case of Elgato adding those in to here as well. So whereas we've got the sort of keystroke type things, adding in mouse gestures like we've got with the Loop Deck would be great. Good call. Chris is waiting to see if he wins the giveaway before he orders his Loop Deck. Well, fingers crossed. Sorry, Loop Deck, Stream Deck Plus. I suppose that's probably a good point to say. If you haven't already, if nobody has entered yet, then definitely enter the giveaway. You can find a link in the description, also in the chat as well. The draw's coming up, actually. It's going to be on Monday or Tuesday, so the day after Cyber Monday anyway. So hopefully I hope you all win, although there is only one. It's not this one, by the way, as well. So I should say, for full disclosure, Elgato sent me this, but you all know that I would have bought one anyway. So I figured, well, the one that I'm going to buy, I'll just buy it and give it away. So that's where the giveaway comes. But I'm definitely hanging on to this. I do really like the functionality, and interesting to see where it goes. So the Stream Deck Plus is better than I thought it would be. The dials are really useful. So we've already seen, some of the ways that you can use dials with Loop Deck, and I do like it. I just do wish that they had put a few more buttons. And do you know what? I know exactly where the design conversation went with this, because what they've done is they've essentially got these 4 dials down at the bottom. You couldn't really have these much tighter because they'd be tricky to sort of get your fingers around. And so I think that the design team said, well, we've got 4 dials down here, so we need these to all line up so that we've got basically, a button here, and then 2 buttons above it. I think that is the reason why they went with those, just so that it all looks neat in comparison to the things below. But I actually don't think that was a great decision, to be honest. I think that, as I say, you could fit 12. You can fit 6 by 6, 6 at the top and 6 at the bottom. So you could have fit 12 buttons on there, and I think that would have been better. And I'm not going to start being really picky about this, but I'm the kind of person who notices these things. One of the things about the Stream Deck XL is, if you measure the distance between this button and the side here, and this button and the bottom, and this button and the side there, those are all exactly the same. The top is bigger, but then that's got the logo on it, so it doesn't look out of place. This one is as if nobody actually got a ruler out and measured things, because the distance between this little bezel here and the bottom of the screen is different to the distance between the top of the screen and this button there, and then the distance between this little bit down at the side and this one on the bit at the bottom and the bit on either side is different as well. Now, nobody else is going to notice that. I'm just a weird person like that. That's part of my background in architecture. I notice these things. I used to get I used to make people really annoyed, I think, on the sites, because I'd go in and I'd notice things that were like a millimeter out of line in a house because I come from actually an aeronautical background. So yeah, millimeters matter there, whereas they probably don't so much in architecture, but I would still notice them. So I do notice these little details, but I digress. I think that that is the reason why they've gone with these 4 buttons. They said in the Elgato video that the reason why they made them bigger was because they wanted them to be more glanceable, so people can look down and see what they're looking at. I actually don't think anyone was particularly complaining about the size of the other buttons. Has anybody in the chat had issues with these buttons not being big enough to see? I don't know, maybe if people are writing on them, I suppose, then that might be part of it. But if you've got nice little icons, then yeah, I've never had an issue with being able to glance down and see what's going on with them. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to be too picky about this because I do really like this device. The other thing then that is a real selling feature for this, I think, is the fact that it does open up this WaveLink software. And I haven't dug into it completely to to look at how I'm going to use this with the Rodecaster, but it is a great piece of software specifically for people who don't have a Rodecaster or don't want a Rodecaster or something like that, and they've got some other microphone going into their computer, maybe a USB mic, maybe the MV7 over USB, which does have some audio processing built into it, as we know. And I was really happy using the MV7 over USB, but yeah, the WaveLink software is really impressive. So let's take a little look at that. And yeah, great to see everybody is seeing their buttons just fine. So I think that whole thing of it being glanceable is a bit of a non-thing, really. So yeah. And often, you know, often when people, I'm always conscious of, it's all very well for me to sit here and say, oh, well, they should have had more buttons, but it's there's often, you know, some sort of hardware consideration that you haven't thought about, and so on. However, actually, in this case, from a hardware point of view, it's just a case of there is a board in here where these buttons are. I don't think there would be any physical reason why they couldn't have had those things in there. In fact, also, somebody in our little Creators podcast group also mentioned, was it Keely or was it Dina? It was one of the two, about the tooling. You know, they've had to actually make new buttons and new tooling for all of that as well. So they've actually given themselves an extra task. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that too long because it's not really a major point, is it? Let's come over to the WaveLink software though, and I'll show you kind of what this looks like. So it's just freshly installed. I have obviously played with it. I've stripped it all out to show you where we start from with it though. And this is basically what it starts out at. Now, if I unplug my my Stream Deck, what you'll see is it basically says you've got to connect a Wave device for it to work. So it's literally locked unless you've got a Elgato Wave microphone, the Elgato Wave XLR, or if I just plug the Stream Deck Plus in, then it just unlocks the software. So there we go, it's unlocked. So that's what I mean when I say it unlocks the software. Hey, Michelle, great to see you popping in here. So let me just come back over here. So basically here you can just add multiple different inputs, and we'll see how this all relates back to this Stream Deck Plus in a moment. But here you can create a whole series of different inputs and then have control over the audio. This will all start making sense very soon. So here I've got various different applications open. So let's just say I'm going to add in Discord. So now we've got this thing for Discord. We've got basically 2 different outputs. So we've got a monitor mix. So that is, you know, where you're going to monitor what's going on. And then you've got the stream mix, which is what's going to go out into your stream or into whatever software that you're using. And I can just go in here and add all sorts of different things. So maybe I want to have Google Chrome as well. Maybe I'm going to be playing something in there that I want to feed the audio back in. What else might I have? Zoom, obviously, might be in there as well. So you've got various different applications that you can add into there. At the moment, I'm using my Rodecaster. So let's just sort of pretend that I've got a mic added. So obviously, this is the whole point of the software, is to actually use with your microphone. So if I just add this one in, let's just assume that one, and you can see I can just reorder that around very easily with just sort of drag and drop. So let's say that this is going to be my main microphone. And here we've got the different levels. So I can use this slider. I can adjust the level in my monitor mix versus in the stream mix. Those can be independent, but you can also link them together like that. And then you can see that they move up and down relative. So it doesn't lock them at exactly the same level. You can see you can still have that sort of differentiation between, or differential between the two of them. And then you can just slide them up and down like that. You can also mute them into any one of those mixes as well. And so, yeah, it's pretty good in terms of being a general sort of mixing desk, virtual mixing desk, if you like, where you can get all of these different levels right. And then in terms of the sort of output, so here this is going into the stream. The stream mix is going to this stream output. And here you can just send it direct to, it'll tell you your particular application that you're using. If I bring over Zoom, for example, and then here we've got the microphone. The way that this is going to show up in Zoom or anything else is here where you see this WaveLink stream. WaveLink microphone FX. I'll come back to that one in a little moment. That's something different, but WaveLink stream is basically meaning you are going to get the audio from all of these different things going out to this stream. Now, it doesn't have mix minus as such. However, you can actually mute things on a channel by channel basis. So let's just say that you were using this with Zoom, for example, and you wanted to have, you know, your different audio going in there. You could say, right, well, actually, I want to exclude Zoom from the mix that's going back into Zoom. So that's effectively mix minus then, if you've selected that as your input into Zoom. And then you might want to exclude the chat, for example, in your Discord. So you might be doing something in Zoom with a Discord going in a sort of back channel, and you want to just exclude those both from the mix. So in effect, it's similar to the routing table that we've got on the Rodecaster. By the way, I am going to be doing a full full review and video of the WaveLink software, because there's a lot to dig into with it. Maybe even an entire course, who knows? But that's how easy it is to just sort of add things into here. And then let's just link this back for a moment. I'll come back to some of the processing you can do with the WaveLink software as well. But if I come back to the Stream Deck software now, and what I'm going to do is just actually delete these ones that I've put in here, like this. And now what we can do is if we come to the WaveLink plugin. By the way, the WaveLink software you'll have to download. I'll leave a link to that in the description for the actual software that we've just looked at. You'll also have to go into the Stream Deck store to get the WaveLink plugin. It's not there just sort of by default. But once you have done that, then you've got input actions and output actions. So those four things that we just added in are all inputs. And you can see that if I drag one of those on, then you can choose the input. And it's basically got the names of those ones that we've just added in. So it's pulling in the names that we've got for our four inputs. We've got this, this is effectively a mic input, Google Chrome, Discord, and Zoom. So if I come back over here, those are the choices we've got: the mic input, the Google Chrome, Discord, or Zoom. So we could choose any one of those. And now what's going to happen is, as I turn the dial, let me just come back to, oh, and by the way, you've got basically the choice of, remember we've got the monitor mix or the stream mix, or you can choose to do all of them. So if I set that to all, and then I come back over here, what's going to happen is, as I turn this dial, you can see how it's moving both of those up and down. If I change it to just the monitor mix, guess what? It's going to adjust the monitor mix. You can also adjust the step size. So that is how much it's going to go down by with each one of those little ratchets. So that is what we've got down here. And so now if I turn it, it's going to be sort of more aggressive on that, you know, the amount that it turns it up and down by. So that is how you can basically control that. The other thing that we could do here is, remember I was talking about those dial stacks. Well, what you might want to do is say, okay, I'll put a stack over here. And then in here, what we'll do is we'll just have all the different volume controls or level controls for those different things. Hey, thank you very much for the super chat, Jason. That is much appreciated. Long time lurker, first time commenter. Well, welcome to the stream. It's great to see you here, and thank you so much for the super chat. That is really much appreciated. And obviously, any questions from anybody, let me know. And hey, great to see you here as well, as always. My real name is made up. I do love your handle. where was I? Oh yeah, so the dial stacks. Yeah, input action over here. So here we've got this one. So let me change that to, say, the microphone. This one we can change to Google Chrome. This one we can change to Discord, and this one we could change to be Zoom. So now if I come back out of here, then this is the thing that I was talking about before, where you might want to have one dial, but that basically you can just cycle through and adjust your different apps. And what you might notice there is that it is actually sort of changing the icon. So you've got the little Google Chrome icon in there. And in fact, can you see this properly? Let me just see if that is any better. So you can see the icon. Maybe you can't see that any better. You can see the icon and the percentage as well. So as I turn that up and down, and if I cycle through, then you'll see the icon changing. It looks like that's a bit too washed out, doesn't it? Never mind. You get the idea, hopefully. So it's a great way of having all those different things on, an individual button for all of the different levels, and you just be able to sort of cycle through them like that. The other thing that you've got in terms of the WaveLink is, as well as the input actions, then we've also got output actions, and this is going to adjust the levels of either the monitor mix or the stream mix, and so that is basically the master level. So if I change that to stream mix, and then let me just come over to here once again, then you'll see that as I rotate that, whoops, wrong one. Where's it gone? There we go. You can see how that's the master output just down at the bottom here of the stream. It's moving those ones up and down. Unfortunately, no, Doc, we can't do that. Actually, I say that. You probably could, couldn't we? We could probably link it into something. So we'll see. Oh, hey, Hank. Great to see you here. Thank you very much for stopping by. And if you've got any questions, do let me know as well. So yes, that is the dials and how they relate to the WaveLink software. But what's really great, it's hang on, let me just read that. I'm having one of those moments where I go to read something and then I realize I haven't processed the sentence. Happy buy stuff at the price it really should be day. Oh right, I get you. Yeah. I've just figured it out. Buy stuff at the price it should really be with day, as opposed to Black Friday. So anyway, let's have a look at what else this can do then. So in the software, as well as the obviously being able to control levels of all of these things, what you can do also is, if I come into here, you've also got effects. Now, let me just come down to this one down at the bottom. If I click in the right place, you've got this one for effects. And this is where I think that this is really powerful, because it has got a lot of great onboard processing. So if I'll just move this over here, we go, click on effects, audio effects. So here we've got bandpass, delay, distortion, dynamic processor, filter, graphic EQ, high shelf filter, high pass, low shelf filter, low pass, and so on. So there's lots of different functions here. And if you think about on the Rodecaster, the sort of functionality we have there for processing with things like compressor, the low pass filter to sort of block out, high pass filter to block out the low end noises, and the noise gate and things like that. Well, now we've got all of that in here, sort of built in a sort of virtual sense, but there's actually a load more functionality in here. So this is going to be a whole video series really on exactly how to use all of these, because if you are not a Rodecaster Pro user and you're not using any external thing, this actually opens up a whole load of really great processing that you've got to add to your mic if you just whatever kind of microphone you're using. So I'm certainly going to be digging into that. Oh, are they? Oh, really? Oh, that's where they come from. Those are the default Apple audio filters. Ah, well, there you go then. I've learned something new. But yeah, being able to go in. Let me just open them up and I'll show you how they look then. Whoops, where's it gone? So, for example, if you add one of these in, they all open up in their own little windows. So if I open up the dynamic processor, for example, this is effectively like the compressor. And then we've got others in here. I'll just open up a couple of these, whoops, at random to sort of show you. They all basically, I click in the right place. They all basically sit in their own little windows. So if I open up like the EQ, for example, then there we've got an EQ, and you can adjust the levels on that. This isn't applied to my microphone at the moment. This is just to sort of almost a dummy mic. So you can basically just sort of apply all of these different levels. And as I say, each of these is just its own little window. But what then happens is you can see here that this has got some effects applied to it. You can also change the audio of these effects as well. Because it doesn't matter which order these things go in. If you're removing background noise and then you're doing something to boost the, some lower end or something, you don't want to do those in the wrong order so that you're actually boosting a problem before it's being removed. But anyway, that is how you sort of add in different effects. I'm not going to go through all this now. I will make a full video on, as I say, all of these different effects. But what you've then got is you can see that this has then got some effects applied to it. So this little green, in fact, I'm just hiding this up with Doc's comment. There we go. This little green icon at the bottom, this is where you go to apply the effects, but it also shows you where effects are applied, and you can toggle them on and off from there as well. You can choose whether you want it to go into the headphone mix, the monitor mix, or into the stream mix. So you can toggle those on and off from here. And just coming back to the settings for a second, where we had the microphone before, using it as a mic input for a particular device application. So we've got WaveLink Stream. We've also got WaveLink Microphone FX, and that is if you want to just take only your microphone into that particular application, but you do want it to have all of those effects applied, because this one is basically the WaveLink Stream is going to take in absolutely everything that you've got, in that mix, all of those different channels. Whereas the WaveLink Microphone FX is literally just going to take your microphone with those effects applied to it. So obviously you may not want to have absolutely everything going in there. You might just want your mic with the mic effects. So that is what that's for. So for me, I think that this WaveLink software is a sort of killer feature of the Stream Deck Plus, because it does open up all of this functionality, what is a really, comprehensive processor for people who aren't using the Elgato Wave mic. So you could be using, as I say, the Shure MV7 or any other microphone, any of the Rode mics as well. So Rode have got a whole range of USB mics, so it'll be able to be used with that. Rode obviously do have their own software which came out, the Rode X software, which came out along with the new Rode X mic as well. I was really excited about that, and then I was disappointed on release day when it was Windows only, because that seems like a massive sort of gap there to not have it be on the Mac as well. But the Rode X software is kind of similar to this. It's basically being able to do mixing and take things that you can do on the Rodecaster into the computer in a virtual sense, but for it not to be on Mac is just a bit of a dropped ball in my estimation. So being able to do that all with the WaveLink now is one of the reasons why I think that this is going to be a great device that I'd recommend. I do wish it had more buttons. I do see it as being a companion device to a Stream Deck if you're doing a lot of heavy automation and things like that on your computer, then certainly the more buttons for me, the better. I'm still considering, even with this one, an additional 32 key Stream Deck. It would just make more sense as well, as well as this, but it is a great sort of companion device for the others. And these audio things are going to be really good. I'm looking forward to playing about more with the WaveLink software and using it in conjunction with the Rodecaster Pro 2, because at the moment, the way that I have the Rodecaster Pro 2 set up is I've got the I've got the microphone, I've got 3 channels which are coming out over USB. They're going into my computer, and I use one of those for Discord, one for Ecamm, and then one for Zoom. And then my actual system audio, I'm bringing in out of the headphone jack in the back of the computer, and that is going into one of the a stereo pair of phono jacks in the back of the back of the Rodecaster. And so what that means is using the Elgato Wave Link software coming into that 4th channel, it means now I really have got absolute total control over all of the different audio sources on my computer. So an individual one with mix minus for Zoom, Discord, and Ecamm for live streaming and recording, and then complete control of everything else on the other fourth channel. So yeah, I'll be definitely doing a whole load more videos all about this software in particular. Hey Parker, great to see you here. Oh, you like the WaveLink too? Ah, no, I'm just recognizing I'm recognizing the characters in your name. What's your name, by the way? I'm recognizing the Thai writing. I'm currently live streaming from Nong Khai, so sawadee kap. And Bicky, I've got to say, I love the picture that you posted on Twitter of your setup. You've got to tell me more about what it is exactly you do with that, because it looks awesome. Yeah. I liked not only the fact that, first of all, 4 Stream Deck XLs, there's that, obviously, but just the whole sort of layout of it and how neat and tidy it was. Yeah, I'd love to know more about what you're doing with that. But yeah, it looked absolutely awesome, that did. So yeah, you can never have too many. Michelle's in the chat as well, and Michelle had for the longest time a Stream Deck Mini, and then we all kept teasing her about it, and then she was like, right, okay then, stand back everyone. And now I think she's got 3 Stream Deck XLs as well. So it's amazing how you can find uses for these. And it's one of the things that I always say to people if they're trying to decide, should I get the 15 key or the 32 key? I always recommend the 32, because it's yeah, it's you can always find the uses for those buttons once you've actually got them in front of you. When I bought my first Stream Deck, or this one, which is this one, I thought I'd be using it for switching scenes on just on Ecamm, but but then you get it and you realize there's so much more that you can do. Yeah. Or XLs. You'll have to tell me more, Bicky, about your use case. You're waiting to get the Plus. It is a great sort of companion. Excuse me. It is a great companion device to the Stream Deck XL because of the buttons. And you have indeed got to start somewhere. There's an offer on, I think, the regular Stream Decks. So this one is $199 on Amazon. There is I think a discount on the Stream Deck XL at the moment on Amazon. Not a huge amount. It's like 14% off or 15% off or something like that. So, and hello and welcome to the stream, by the way, I should say as well, Rani. Yeah, so a couple of other things. I mean, I've sort of had a couple of complaints about this already, haven't I? Like it could have had more buttons. I still can't get over why they've made this base a screw-in base, though. There's two actual screws. So whereas with the Stream Deck XL, it just pops off the magnetic base, and okay, it is a bit big and clunky, but actually that adds to the weight of it. That's why it sits so well on the desk. Compare that to the Loop Deck. I do like the sort of portability of the Loop Deck, and it's got this little sort of kickstand at the back. But this one, to have an actual screw-in base on the bottom, I think it's just a bit of a weird design choice. And the other thing about it is that the cable comes out of the back, and it comes out, perpendicular to the back as well. So this is never going to lie down flat on your desk. And you might say, all right, well, why would you want it to lie down flat on your desk? But a couple of reasons. First of all, I do sometimes use this one flat. So I will sometimes take it out and just put it next to my computer. And the way that they've got the cable in the back of the XL, you can actually route the cable out of the back, and then it will sit flat on the desk, next to a keyboard. So it does sort of make sense to use it like that sometimes. So I will sometimes have that down like that. Also, if I'm traveling, then I will take this with me and just take it without the base, so it will sit down like that. This one, you're not going to be taking this traveling unless you're taking a little screwdriver with you, and it is a shame that it won't lie down flat. I'm not quite sure the reason for that. Obviously I don't know the internals, but to have done something to have made it so that the cable could come out at least, out this side maybe. That said, I don't particularly like the way that the Loop Deck one comes out right at the very top like that, but still, yeah, it's just a bit of a weird design choice, that is, to have it so that it won't literally lie down flat. So you get hammered by the exchange rate and import, do you? Oh, that's a shame, that is. You just ordered the 15 key one. Well, I don't know what to say. It's still great. It still does all, you know, it depends on what you need it for. But if it's your, is it your first Stream Deck? You might be surprised at how many things you find for it. Fortunately, I think there's a good resale market, but I know that a lot of people who start with the 15, they quickly buy the other one. But yeah, I'm a bit of a freak in that way anyway, that I do tend to put absolutely everything on it. So there's certainly ways with pages and things like that you can flick between them. So so yeah, I'm thinking that as well. Folks on Etsy who will be 3D printing solutions for us soon, they will, but you're still going to be stuck with, you'll have to buy a sort of 90-degree angled USB socket or something like that to get around the whole sort of, you know, angle that this comes out at. But yeah, let's not moan too much, because I think it is wonderful. And the Elgato Wave, as I say, the WaveLink, got my cables tangled now. The WaveLink software is one of the big selling points. One of the other things I mentioned about the actual software itself, I haven't really put anything on the buttons in this demo, because I figure, well, we all know what a Stream Deck does, don't we? But perhaps we don't. So just in case, for those who don't know, then let me just get this down for a second. Then yeah, basically all of the different things on here are just exactly as we used to, just being able to sort of drag and drop things. You know, if you want a shortcut to a website, if you're controlling Ecamm, want to start your stream, I wouldn't go and drop on the end live stream button on here just yet. I'll do that after. You know, run scene to flick between scenes on Ecamm. So we've got all of the same functionalities we had before. Obviously the icons, just the same as before. You can change the icons, so you can either set it from a file here. You can just drag and drop an image on here to change the icon. You've got the same functionality as we've had on those buttons on the screen here as well. Obviously, you don't have it for the dial. It's just going to put on this little icon here, whichever you know, function you're adding onto it. But you can actually upload an image to go in place on the actual touch screen here, so you can change that image. You can also change the background of this entire strip. If you right click on it, then you can either upload your own file, reset to default, which would be just plain black, or you can open the background library. And there is actually a whole series of different backgrounds that you can choose from. So you could have something like that, just an image. Let me just click out of there for a minute. You can see what these are looking like. Trees, mountains, water, that sort of stuff, or some of these more sort of abstract colors and things like that. It is a really sort of vibrant screen, I've got to say, just as, you know, same as the Loop Deck, pretty good quality screen on it. And so you can just change the background. When you add in different profiles, so if I was to go and create a new profile in here, for example, like this, then what I could do is I could just add a different background onto this one. So let's choose something completely different. And then as I switch profile, it is going to switch those backgrounds as well. So you're going to get sort of a way to glance down and just, you know, another way to sort of show you which profile you happen to be on. By the way, the switching profiles, you can do that from here, obviously, and this is one of those things that has moved. So the Stream Deck actions now have been split into Stream Deck, navigation, and multi-action. So switching profiles would be in here. So you can come in here, add this, and then you can switch to a different profile. One thing that some people don't realize is you can switch profile from a different device. So what I could do is I could just delete that from there, because we don't want to take up too many spaces. Let me come back to my my Stream Deck. Where is it? This one, Stream Deck XL. What I'll do is I'll just get rid of a couple of these. And then what I could do here is I could use the switch profile on here. So this is my XL that I'm programming now. And you can see here where it says the current device. Well, what I can do is I can change that to the Stream Deck Plus, and then it will pull up the list of profiles, profile 1, profile 2. And then let me just copy that one. And then I will change that to profile 2. So now I've got these two buttons on my regular Stream Deck that are going to change profiles on the Stream Deck Plus. So if I come to this one here, we've obviously changed the background. So you can see that as I press these buttons is essentially changing those profiles on the first Stream Deck. Sorry, on the Stream Deck Plus, I'm changing profiles from the Stream Deck XL. So that is a way that you could use this as well, where if you're using it with something else where you can sort of switch between those. That's a great tip, by the way, as well, for if you are using the Stream Deck pedal, which I also have. Obviously, the Stream Deck pedal has got three buttons, three pedals, so you may want to have sort of more functionality. So having those on different profiles and then using a switch on the regular Stream Deck to switch between them is a useful thing to do there. In fact, there is a little sort of floating thing. Where's it gone? I share my screen again. There is a little sort of floating window here. So this one shows you what is the current active thing on your pedals. I've got a little profile set up on my Stream Deck XL. If I press this one that looks like a little pedal with this little recycle symbol in it, that's basically going to allow me to change what is the actions that I've got on my pedals. So I've got a few that I've set up here, and you can see that as I'm pressing these buttons on my regular Stream Deck, it is actually changing what is being controlled by the pedal. So it means I can just sort of dip in and dip out of that, yeah, switch the profiles on the pedal. So if I go back to the one that I wanted, there we go. Put that one back. So yeah, that is where we're at with the Stream Deck Plus. If anyone's got any specific questions, I will obviously be doing a full sort of more structured video that is a recorded video about about all the different features and functionality and so on. But I just wanted to come on and basically just talk you through some of my initial thoughts of it. I will be doing a whole series of videos on the WaveLink software because I think that has got a huge potential, and I know that there's certain people, I know Keely, for example, in the chat is not one to want a big roadcaster on the desk, but using an MV7, there could be some use cases for that going through the WaveLink software and being able to control Discord volume and things like that separately. Yeah, I think it has a great deal of potential there. Yeah, Etsy's got some great things. They had a great one as well for mounting a loop deck. So it was India Delgado who mentioned about that, where there's one that you can get to mount a loop deck and a Stream Deck, sort of next to each other or one above the other. I actually have taken them off now, but I use there's an iPad stand that I use to sort of mount one above the other. But yeah, Etsy's going to have lots of great stuff. You use that. I'm sure you do use that profile switcher with 4 Stream Decks, and I can just imagine. I'd love to get a sort of behind the scenes of your setup and what you're actually doing with it as well. No problem, Andy. Happy to share some information and my humble opinions. I'm really happy with it. I would have bought it. I would have bought this. Even if Elgato hadn't sent me one, and as I say, I'm giving away the one that I would have bought anyway to some lucky winner, so you can find details of that. And I certainly would have been happy with it. So although I might have sounded a little bit picky and negative about some things, but I'm not really. I am really over the moon with it. I can see that if they just add in that little mouse scroll thing to this, then this one might well be moving out to retirement somewhere. But yeah, it is really great. The software that Elgato have got for the Stream Deck, for me, is just so far ahead of the Loop Deck software. I would never recommend the Loop Deck to somebody because I would never recommend the Loop Deck to someone that I was going to be tech support for. Should we put it that way? Because yeah, whereas I could quite happily recommend the Stream Deck to anyone because it is so easy. The other thing about this, just mentioning that, so Doc is saying the 3D printed lids, and you are getting it apparently. I should say as well, they don't have changeable face plates, which I'm surprised at that as well, because given that they had, I know that it's more tricky to do a faceplate for this because it's got a screen and they've got to do all of that kind of stuff, but it seems that there was a bit of an evolution going on. It went from the irregular 15-key Stream Deck with the sort of quite flimsy kickstand. Then they brought out the Stream Deck XL, which had this, magnetic stand like this, and it was and the USB-C connection, the detachable USB-C on the back, and they did that for the Mini as well. Then they brought out the Stream Deck Mark II, which was the same size as the original one, but had some of the features of this in terms of the sort of form factor. But it had the replaceable screen, the faceplates, because presumably they'd seen that Etsy was a big marketplace for people making just ones that you could stick over the top. So I'm surprised that they didn't stick with the replaceable faceplates for this as well, because I know Keeley's got a nice white Stream Deck XL, and so may have wanted the same one for this. What they have said is that in the new year there are going to be replacement dials coming out with different colors. So these do just basically pull off. Honestly, I haven't just broken it, and they just sort of pull on and off like that. So you can replace them. So they are bringing out colored dials, but yeah. There's no sort of replaceable faceplate, so that again is going to be another Etsy thing. And do you know what, Paul? You're thinking on my wavelength, because when I see this like here, it just feels like it needs another one on the other side. So it would look perfect with just another Stream Deck on there, because it is taller. I mean, hopefully I've shown that as well. It is taller than the Stream Deck. So yeah, another one of those on the other side. It would be a proper mission control. Then what have I done then? I've just it appears I've just pressed the button to drop in the chat. If you'd like to book a consultation with me, you can go to takeonetech.io/consultation. That just triggered all by itself. So it seems like the Stream Deck is working for me now. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah. The Stream Deck Loop Deck got a 3D printed one that India found that. That was great. The reason I didn't buy that, despite using a Stream Deck and a Loop Deck, is because I still have this, and this is a Ulanzi iPad stand, but it does actually hold the Loop Deck really nicely. If I drop it in here, it's like almost exactly the right size to hold the Loop Deck, and then if you twist it round. And then if you just drop the Stream Deck on the stand like that, and then position this correctly, it ends up being a really nice sort of weighty thing. And they're exactly the right size. You can line them up, get all the angle of them and everything right. So that's how I've been using the Stream Deck and the Loop Deck. So that just sits on my desk. Yeah, that's been a great way for me to use those two things together. I think it'd get a bit tall if I mounted this one on top as well. So I'll probably go for something more wide as opposed to tall going forward. But yeah, I've got to say though, the Loop Deck, I mean, I joke about it, but I certainly will be still hanging on to this, because sometimes when I go away, I don't take the XL at all. Last time I went on a trip, which actually was months ago. It's not like I do travel much these days. Because I've realized you don't actually have to, despite the fact that I used to be on the go all the time. But yeah, this one is just really nice to be able to sort of throw into a bag. It's really sort of small and light and portable. And actually, if you do things, just basic things on, a Zoom call or something like that, where you're using Ecamm virtual cam and you want to switch between a few scenes, do a bit of zooming for screen sharing and stuff like that, then actually this is fine as well. So I'm joking about it, but I do like the Loop Deck hardware. It's just that the software lets it down a little bit, and I wouldn't necessarily be recommending it to anyone. Yeah, it does certainly very well. Yeah, this is not really portable. And this one, now you need a screwdriver to get it out, is also not portable. In fact, let's have a look at how it comes in a box. I know people like to see unboxings, but it's kind of relevant to what we're talking about here, because when you get the box, and bearing in mind, when you're traveling, you want to make sure these things are pretty well protected. So it comes, obviously, because it's got the stand on it, it comes in a box like this. Is this the right way around? Maybe it's that way around. There we go. That's better. So it comes in this big square box. And the reason why it's this shape of box is because, as you've just seen, this is weird, isn't it? I'm doing the unboxing at the end, but you've got this in here with some little notes and stuff like that, and the Stream Deck is nicely facing you, so it's nicely presented. But it is because of the size of this thing. So if you're going to travel with this, either you've got to take a screwdriver and take the stand separately, or you've got to take something. It's going to take up about that much space in it. In fact, let's take the back off, shall we? I'll take the back off and we'll see how this actually looks with the back off. I mean, there is going to be a way of doing it with, having some small little aftermarket thing that you can clip onto the back. Maybe it might be something that even utilizes those little screw threads. But then even again, you see, let me come to the top down. You see how the screws are not flush either, because they have to go in an angle for that back to be able to screw in. So, I mean, yeah, it's still pretty thick. I mean, it's thicker than the Stream Deck XL, actually. The Stream Deck XL obviously was designed to, to have an angle on it as well when it's lying flat. So it was designed to have a slight angle on it, whereas this has got no allowance for it having an angle on it. It is completely sort of flat, the same thickness almost all the way along, apart from obviously the sort of chamfered edges. But yeah, so, and then it slips around. This is obviously designed to be sat on the floor, so it's got little rubber feet. This hasn't. There's definitely no thought that this is going to be used in this layout, and I guess it kind of makes sense because of these. But yeah, just to be able to have some sort of way to angle it up like that would be great. I think that there would be people who would want to use it like that, and like I say, I would certainly want to use it like that sometimes as well. And yeah, obviously when you've got your cable plugged in, unless you've got a 90-degree cable, and even then with a 90-degree cable, it's still going to rock about a little bit. Although I suppose technically, would it? I suppose technically then you've got sort of 3 points. You wouldn't necessarily want to rest it on the cable though, not advisable. But then you would have, I suppose, 3 points. It might just sit there like that. But anyway, it's clearly not at all intended to be used in that way. So let's put this back on. But yeah, having to disassemble it if you are going to travel with it is hardly ideal. Let me just see where we're up to. That's so true. So just talking about the loop deck, yeah, but the UI is crap and it shouldn't be that hard to learn. I literally had the loop deck sitting on my desk for 3 months before I started using it. And the reason was, every time I came to start doing it, and I hope you know by now that I'm a total geek and love all of these kind of things and stripping things down and pulling things apart. But the loop deck, every time I came to get into it, I just thought, I haven't got time to figure this out right now. I'll come back to it. And I kept having that feeling. And so it took me 3 months to actually start using the loop deck. And even now, like if I want to change up the Stream Deck, I feel it's really easy to just go and, strip stuff out, put new stuff in, move stuff around. The loop deck still feels like a challenge to do stuff on. So that's why it just basically stays in this state. So this has got some extra eCam things. I've got a couple of other pages on here. Look at that. Look at that. The swipe's not actually working on it now. I think it might have got jealous. Yeah, it's not having it. So that's the other thing. It is a little bit buggy as well, to be honest. So there we go. You can't go wrong with a live disassembly. Fortunately, I was able to put it back together. That doesn't always happen with me. I have a history of disassembling things and then not having all the parts somehow to put it back together. So we were lucky with just 2 screws. That's funny. You gave your loop deck to your 4-year-old kid to play with as a little toy. That says something, really, doesn't it? And I fully understand it as well. Oh, okay. I'll have to go and check that out, Vicky. I hadn't seen that. You'd put a Photoshop and a short description in the eCam Discord under other hardware. I'm going right to check that out afterwards, but that will be great to see that. Thank you. Hey, Richard, great to see you here, popping in. Yeah, definitely need to check that out. I will definitely be going to check that out afterwards. Well, if nobody has any specific other questions about the Stream Deck Plus, if you haven't done already, then definitely go and head over and enter the giveaway. We've still got a couple of days left. If I take a comment down, just so that you're clear, that is running until obviously Cyber Monday. So I'll be doing the draw for that on Tuesday. I am thinking of doing more of these giveaways as well because part of the reason, obviously, let's just have a full disclosure here. Part of the reason is obviously to build an email list and hopefully be able to send you some other useful information and things like that. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing more of these going forward as well. Photo up. Oh, I kind of knew what you meant anyway. You got a photo in there. Yep. No, well, do you know what though, Doc? What it is it's totally it's totally up to you. But if a product has friction for people to learn it, and very smart people, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the likes of hashtag Keeler was right and other such people. If there is that barrier for people being able to grasp it, and it's not just me, it was lots of people. I made a video which has been one of my most popular about, are you confused by Loop Deck? I've been inundated with people saying yes, and so many people I knew bought it and sent it back because the software was just not good enough, frankly. And yeah, it's all very well saying, oh yeah, you could learn it, but you could say the same about OBS, couldn't you? Anything that you can do in Ecamm, you can do in OBS. There, I've said it. But why do we use Ecamm? Because it's user friendly. It's easy to just do all of these things. And Loop Deck is far from that. So I'm standing by my my Loop Deck hate. Constructive criticism, not hate. Hate's a very strong word, isn't it? I don't hate it. That's why I've still got it. I haven't sent mine back, but I'm just patiently waiting for them to sort their software out. There we go. So I should also say that there is also still time to save on my courses. If you are interested in learning more about Rodecaster, Ecamm Live, or or Zoom for that matter, then you can check out the Ecamm Live Masterclass, Zoom Masterclass, and Rodecaster Masterclass. Did I say all those? Oh, there you go. And you can get a 45% discount, 35% discount on up until Cyber Monday with the offer code Cyber22. And yeah, you can find those all at takeonetech.io/store, and you can also get the same discount on my Stream Deck icon packs as well. I'm going to have to be making some more of these now because obviously now with the dials on the Stream Deck Plus, then as well as the regular sort of square icons, we've also got those sort of rectangular ones for the dials. So you can find the icon packs over there. And yeah, I will be doing some updates of those as well. Quite right, Neil. Software and hello, by the way. But software should not be that difficult to use. So yeah, it's they've got to get their act together. I gave them a year, and they did bring out a big update, but they haven't quite got there yet. So let me have a look where we're at. Hello, good, great to see you. Just tune in. First impression after a few days of Stream Deck Plus in combination with Keyboard Maestro is fantastic. Oh well, there we go. Stream Deck. Any Stream Deck with Keyboard Maestro is fantastic. So yeah, you're speaking my language there. It certainly is. Yeah, that has been the biggest game changer for me with Stream Deck. Was not what it ended up doing for me with live streaming and recording, which is what I bought it for. It was when I paired it with Keyboard Maestro. So yeah, it certainly does that. In fact, you've just given me an idea, because one of the things that I've just been talking about is that in I'm so glad you just dropped this comment in. One of the things I've just been talking about in the Stream Deck Plus is how, if I come over to this one, with these dials, we can add in, onto the rotary dials, we can add in keyboard shortcuts. But what we can't do is mouse gestures. But actually, of course, we can do that with, where is it? We can do that with Keyboard Maestro. So what I could do is I could actually map this to a Keyboard Maestro command, which is the mouse gesture. Thank you. You've just solved my my initial problem. Thanks, Gert. It's great to hear, and thanks so much for the comment. Yes. Now I shall be. Now I know what I'm doing with my Saturday. I'll be programming my my Keyboard Maestro mouse gestures to work with the rotary dials, and then I should be making a video about that, of course, and I'll credit you with it. Well, that is all I've got for today on the Stream Deck Plus. If anyone has got any final questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I shall say thank you and farewell, and hope you found that useful. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on the replay how you are finding using it. If you've got any issues, feedback, or comments about it, I would love to hear about all of that. And if you are, oh, you're going to your stream. Ah, right. When's your stream? I didn't know you got a stream. I thought you'd finished your Friday night stream. Interesting. Now I'm waiting. I'm waiting to find out what Doc's stream is. I'll find out. I'll catch up with you. Anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Great to see you. And I'm also going to be going straight away now to, after I've chatted in the Discord, I'll be going straight away to check out Bicky's picture in the Discord of his setup. And if you haven't already, join the Ecamm Discord group and then go and check out that as well, because it's an awesome picture. Thanks everyone for hanging out. If you are watching on the replay, then I'll leave some other Stream Deck videos over on the right-hand side here. And I've just got to say a big thank you to my channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You help to keep the lights on in the studio, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.